Hello. Hello, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that special Valentine music that we had on hold. Everyone is coming in to the chat. Let us know where you are joining from. So a big hello to everyone that's here and a welcome to our very, very first live Google Business Profile Audit with Colan Nielsen, who is here. Right here on my left or on my right. Hello. So the plan today is to watch Colan bring the magic with some audits, have a Q&A. So we won't do a lot of chat now, but just want to say that when we finish today, you will be able to revisit this because it will be recorded. You can also continue the conversation over on the Facebook group, the local pack. And Jenny's going to share the link in the comments for a moment. So I need to say hello, Colan. How are you?
Hello, Claire.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And would you like to, not that you need an introduction, but would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Well, that is me right there. And I am the Vice President, Local Search, Sterling Sky. Been doing local search since 2010. I guess that would be about 13 years now. Really focused on Google business profiles. Gotcha, Andy. Starting a drinking game there. GBP. Or Google Places, if we go back to 2010, really focused on that for the last 13 years as the main focus. Work with an incredible team at Sterling Sky. I can see several team members in the chat there, which is amazing. And yeah, just really excited to do this kind of audit here because it's one of my favorite things to do.
I'm excited just to see, I think audits are one of those things where you develop your own processes. And so it is so nice to look into someone else's brain and how they put things together. So I think should we just go for it? Remember to put your questions in. We're going to do this audit now, and then we're going to have a little chitty chat. Then we'll get on with the second. But we have got the Q&A, the live Q&A. So if you have got a burning question, then pop that in the chat because we're looking forward to getting Colan to answer those when we're all done. So are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm going to fire up the screen share. And yeah, I'm going to try and keep this as interactive as possible. And maybe Claire, you can just give me a thumbs up or in the chat once the screen share goes up there. Okay.
Can I ask you a question before you start? Audits generally sort of vary in complexity
Yes.
and length of process. So would you give us a little bit of a background on how you use the audit process and whether or not you do, does it go from mini through to audit, which turns into a strategy and a roadmap? Could you tell us a bit about that?
It's a really good question. And I really wanted to open by explaining that. So thank you.
Great minds.
So there's there's comprehensive local SEO audits, which for us at Sterling Sky, that's the starting point for any relationship with a new business that we're going to work with. We do a comprehensive audit, takes over 4 hours to complete, and you're covering everything from the Google business profile, on-site optimization, competitor analysis, backlinks, reviews, you name it. What we're going to be doing today is I would say, an equally important type of audits, but I would describe this more of like a freestyle audit. And what we're attempting to do here is not audit every single thing that's like under the sun. Rather, we're trying to zero in on only the things that we know have a direct impact, specifically on local pack rankings for this one. And typically, when I think of the things that impact local pack rankings, I think it's fair to say you could probably boil them down to 8 buckets, or certainly 8 things that I'm thinking about when I do these freestyle audits. So, number 1 would be the physical location of the business. Number 2 would be whether or not they're being impacted by the local filter. Number 3 would be the business name. Number 4 is categories. Number 5 is the Google Business Profile landing page and everything that's kind of happening on that page. Reviews, the attributes inside the Google Business Profile, or NMX, and also the services that are inside there. So those are the things I'm thinking about when I start to go through this. So I'm going to dive in, Claire. Did that answer what you were thinking?
That totally did. And if I was listening, I'd be jotting things down. So I was wondering, will there be a resource at the end?
Yeah, so all those 8 things, plus all the action items, or every kind of to-do that I'm going to mention here, we're going to compile it all, put it into a nice checklist, and share it afterwards. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Right, ready. Clock tower, brace yourselves.
Yeah, so we got to audit 2 different businesses. One is a dentist, as we can see here. The other one is a service area business. So we'll do that one second. So going back to the first thing that I mentioned about the business's physical location, it's the first thing I always check. And what I'm actually checking to see is whether or not the business is physically located in the city that they think they're in, that their mailing address is in. And the quick check way to do this is to pull up the knowledge panel and just check what is the city that we've told Google that we're located in. So Franklin Square, this is what we've inputted into the new merchant experience, into the editing interface. What Google spits out just above that is very important to pay attention to. So if we're saying we're in Franklin Square and Google is spitting out Franklin Square in this snippet here, we're good to go. There's nothing really to worry about here. Perfect. Then the problem here is if you see a mismatch here. So let's just say right here, it didn't say Franklin Square, or maybe it just said New York, or it said this other little area that's adjacent to Franklin Square. That tells me there's a problem. And what's likely happening, and it goes back to this article we wrote, is there's a mismatch between the mailing address and the physical address. And this happens when the pin is located just outside of that physical shaded boundary. And you'd see something like this in your knowledge panel if that was a problem. So we're saying, hey, we're in Olathe, and then Google's like, well, actually, you're in Lenexa. Causes problems for rankings inside Olathe, and especially for explicit keywords if somebody's searching for insurance agent Olathe. So that's the number 1 thing that we checked here. Not an issue, so we can kind of take that off the table. The second thing I like to do whenever I'm doing these kind of freestyle audits is hop over to a GeoGrid rank tracker. And so there's many wonderful tools that can do these days. I really enjoyed using the Bright Local GeoGrid report for this one. And there's essentially 3 things that, at least initially, I'm trying to gauge by looking at the GeoGrid ranking report. So the first thing is, how do we rank? That's the obvious one. And more specifically, how do we rank across our entire market? And we can kind of see right off the bat here that they definitely own kind of their own block, if you will. But then as soon as we get a few blocks away, rankings drop off. And intuitively, I know that this is actually pretty normal for a dentist in a competitive city, because there are dental clinics on pretty much every block, especially in New York, especially in New York City. which leads me to my second point of what I'm looking for here, or what I'm going to use this GeoGrid for, is I want to set expectations. So I want to set expectations for myself, meaning I want to know what I could expect as far as how far from the office can I expect to actually rank. This allows me to also set an expectation with the business owner that I'm working with. And so one of the ways I like to do this is I'll go down, and Bright Local actually gives you this nice list of every single competitor that is ranking in this GeoGrid. And what jumps out to me is the best performing business within this whole grid has an average ranking of 11.8. And then as you click on these, you can actually see where these competitor businesses rank. And there isn't a single competitor in this grid who kind of like dominates. So what this is telling me is that, would I expect that there's a chance that I can get greens across this whole grid? I would put it at a 99.9% chance no. Do I think there's a chance that we could probably capture this like outer ring as far as getting into the 3-pack? I'd say it's probable, but it's going to require a lot of work because of how saturated and how competitive things are here. So those are two things I'm looking for off the bat. The third thing I'm looking for is, are there any signs of filtering issues? Because we know, like, if you're being filtered, it's just one of those things where it doesn't matter what else you're doing. You could have the most reviews, the best link profile, everything is top notch. But if you're being filtered, it doesn't matter. So I'm looking for, are they not ranking right where the actual physical location is? Like if this was a 21 plus, but there was some rankings surrounding it, really good chance that they're being filtered right at their actual location. But interestingly, if we jump over to another keyword, so this is for dentist. Remember, the local filter, it operates at the keyword level. So just because we're not filtered for one keyword, we could be filtered for another keyword. So I'm going to check dental implants because I'm trying to gauge if there's filtering here. And interestingly, what I do see right off the bat is the telltale sign that we're being filtered for this particular keyword. So right where our office is located, which is where we should be ranking. If somebody's standing out front of the office searching for dental implants, it's something that we do. We should be ranking, but we're actually not ranking anywhere. Like we're not even factored into the calculation, essentially. But then we do have these kind of random rankings even further away from the office. So then if I click into this pin here, I can confirm my suspicions because the top two businesses that are ranking are located 0 kilometers from that pin, which means they're at the exact same location that I am. So we've identified right off the bat that ranking far from the office is going to be challenging for the core keyword, set expectations. And then 2, there's a filtering issue happening on certain keywords that we're going to have to address at some point. But just knowing this off the bat is really key, but we'll circle back and we'll talk about how to deal with this in a minute. Okay, so after doing like initial checks in the GeoGrid to kind of square those things away, for a dental practice, what I'm usually then thinking about is, are there multiple practitioners that are working here? If so, do they already have a listing? If they do, is it set up in a way that is not conflicting with the main practice listing? And then B, set up in a way that they can sort of rank and be beneficial in some way that's maybe ranking for longer tail keywords, something like that.
Colan, can I stop you there a minute? Just because I'm seeing it in the chat. Could you just give us a really quick description of what you mean when you say filtering? There's some people that would just really love that concept explaining. And I know you're going to talk about how to deal with filtering issues. But first of all, yes, can you tell us what it is?
Yeah, so the filter, the local filter specifically, it kind of operates on one core rule. And that's if there's multiple businesses at the same address using the same category on Google, Google typically will filter, if there's 10 of them, Google will likely filter out 8 or 9 and rank 1 or 2 of them. And if you're not the person that Google selects to be the one that they actually show, well, that's obviously detrimental. So identifying a filtering issue and then figuring out how to fix it is kind of why I put that at like the top of the priority list.
Brilliant. And Brian just shared a piece on Sterling Sky about what the local filter is. So go and check that out.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that. So
sorry to stop you.
No. And jump in anytime, please. So we can see right off the bat, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different dentists that are working here. So where I'd like to go to start assessing like what dentists actually have pages out there and what do they look like, I'll just go into Google Maps, and I like to zoom in on the physical location of the business. And then if you just kind of right click on your mouse, there's an option to search nearby. And then I'm just going to put in dentist, but you could separate with a pipe. You could put dentist, cosmetic dentist, any category that you want to see businesses show up. But I'm just going to use dentist. It's going to zoom me back out a little bit. So I'm going to zoom back in as far as they can take me. Essentially, like I'm mostly concerned with, maybe a 300-400 foot radius, maybe 500 feet around the physical location. Then I'm going to click search this area. And now what it's doing is essentially surfacing any listings that are within this view that are associated with being a dentist. And I can see right off the bat, Dr. Rayhan, he was on their website, so that's one of theirs. Dr. Kelly, he's listed on the website as well. So they have some practitioner listings. The glaring issue with them is that they're both using the exact same primary category that the main practice is using, which can actually cause filtering issues. It doesn't appear that that's the current state of affairs. Like, it doesn't seem like these practitioner listings are filtering out the main listing, but at some point they probably will, or they could get flagged as a duplicate or something like that. So the action item here is to essentially take these and optimize them for one of the like sub-service or subcategories that they offer. And the ones that I kind of thought that would make the most sense based on the procedures and services they do would be to set one of these up using the pediatric dentist category. I found in my experience, if you can set up a practitioner listing with the pediatric dentist category, almost every single time it's going to perform and rank really well for people searching for, children's dentist, pediatric dentist near me. And the reason behind that is very, very few profiles use that as the primary category. So big opportunity there. And then the other one, I'd probably use the cosmetic dentist category. And that'll help rank for people explicitly searching for a cosmetic dentist. And then they're not conflicting with the main practice listing, which is using the dentist and wants to show up for dentist near me, dentist Franklin Square.
So it's a chance to get a little bit more visibility by niching down and pulling those niches into the primary category. That's why, that's the joy of practitioner listings, I guess, isn't it? That's the point.
It is. Yeah, they are really joyful, actually. I find practitioner listings are this incredible thing, because if they're not set up properly, they're a big problem. But most often than not, they're just not really given the attention that they deserve, and there's an opportunity to use them to rank for other things.
Can I ask you a quick question about practitioner listings? Are there any industries that you definitely focus on them, or are there any that you used to use them and you don't use them anymore, or not?
No, I don't think so. The only time they can be challenging is if you're, say for instance, you're a personal injury firm and you have 10 different lawyers. Well, you don't want to set up 10 different lawyers with the personal injury lawyer category, but then if you set them up with just a regular lawyer category, they're not going to compete. So you have to find another strategy. Realtors would be another example, actually, where, if you just set them all up at the same location, again, you're going to cause problems, because there's really only 1 or 2 categories that you can use. Dentists are wonderful, because I think last time I checked, there was about 14 or 15 different category options. It's crazy. So
like a smorgasbord of subcategories. That would be a good time. Yeah, you have to say smorgasbord on every webinar. It's a rule.
Love it.
So thank you.
Yeah, and the only thing, so the other two things I would do with these practitioner listings, category, switch it up. That's the main thing. Number two would be actually point the GBP landing page to the page on the site that's talking about whatever category you selected, right? So if pediatric dentist, you're going to link that profile to the page on the site that's about pediatric dentistry. Same with this one.
One more question. I've just seen it in the chat. Would you recommend that all of those practitioners have their own phone number, or is it okay for it just to go through to the, the general, hello, how can I help you, phone number?
I'm really glad that was asked, because yes, I would absolutely recommend using a unique phone number for the practitioner listings. And the reason isn't like an operational one for the business per se. It's to prevent any listings getting flagged as duplicates. And we found that when you have multiple listings with the same phone number at the same address, that's like a really high trigger for getting flagged as a duplicate. Yeah.
One more thing. If you've got lots of practices in different places, but they're all using the same phone number because it goes through to a call handling center, is that an issue?
If they're all at the same location?
No, they're all at different locations, but they all use the same phone number because everything goes through one call handling.
I would still recommend using unique phone numbers, even if you have to use a tracking number, because of the duplicate flag issue. You don't necessarily have to be at the same address. You could just have a similar business name, or there could be other parts of the business that are same. And if there's too many that are the same, it could trigger a flag for sure.
Thank you.
So the other thing, so that stands out here, which I think is really important to deal with, is in addition to these practitioner listings, there are other listings that are at this address as well. So I would definitely go through all of these and deal with them accordingly. So like if it's spam, like this one, I don't know, I didn't research it, but at first glance, it kind of just seems like it was created to rank for all-on-4 dental implants. It's totally possible. It's also possible that it's a legit business, but maybe not. You want to address that, because the goal here is to have the lowest number of listings in the same category as you at the same address. So like if it's a dentist that has retired, we want to deal with that. If it's a dental clinic that used to be there that's moved, we want to address that. And then certainly like these ones that's like this one isn't even linked to a website. I would go through these, address them. This is also a dentist that's listed on their website. He's the guy, if you remember from here, who is actually filtering them out. So this actually may be an opportunity if that is a dentist that is working for the practice that we're auditing right now. I would beef this profile up. Sure, have it rank for dental implants. It's already using that category. And then just make sure we get up to minimum of 10 reviews as well for the practitioner listings.
I think a couple of people are asking about, and I think it might be too much at this point, when you say you need to address some of the ones that shouldn't be there. You like 2 really super quick things you can do to try and address the ones that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, so what I mean is just like figure out, so this T Dental Associates here, if it's spam, then we'll redressel it. If it's a dental clinic that used to be there, but it's no longer there, then we probably want to go ahead and get that marked as permanently closed, or if it was never there in the first place, reported as like never existed to Google. So we're just, it's going to vary depending on what the listing actually is.
Yeah. That's another webinar, that one.
And I'll cover just one more this one, and then I know we'll jump over to the service area business. But another thing that's these GeoGrid reports are really good for, and the Bright Local one does a really good at highlighting, are for your spam fighting efforts. So we can kind of see here we've got the all-on-4 dental implants. We want to take a look at that. I like how there's the nifty link, takes you right to the redressal form. But then if we go further down, like there's another one here, quite literally just called dental implants. Again, I haven't researched it, but my spidey sense says that's probably not a fully compliant listing. It was probably set up to rank for dental implants. Like even further down, Yeah, there's quite a few here that I would say are worthwhile to go through. And you don't typically think of the dental vertical as being kind of ripe with spam. It's not like locksmiths, garage doors, stuff like that. But when you start to get into some of these like subcategories like dental implants or all-on-4 Invisalign or teeth whitening, there is interestingly quite a bit of like lead gen and keyword stuffing and that type of stuff going on.
Yeah, and if you can get rid of anyone, even if it's just for a couple of weeks, then everyone that disappears, you move up one. So if 50% of the listings are spammy and you can, either get rid of them or suppress their ranking by getting rid of the keywords in their name, then you're winning for your client, really.
Yep. And before I move on to the next one is as far as like the website goes. So I mentioned like the Google Business Profile landing page as being extremely important to the ranking of the Google Business Profile itself. So what I would do in this is just like the high level stuff, but like impactful stuff. So the title tag, for instance, which is the homepage, which is also the GBP landing page, starts off with the business's brand name. So Clock Tower Dental in Franklin Square. I would probably move that towards the end of like the title tag real estate and get the core like important SEO related things, at least for the very front of the title tag. So if dentist Franklin Park or Franklin Square is sort of our main thing that we want the profile to be ranking for, I'd probably be leading my GBP landing page title tag with dentist Franklin Park, and then maybe highlight conversion elements like the fact that they're pain free or there's no waiting, convenient hours, because you'd like that to show up in the SERP snippet. And then you can continue with some of the SEO optimization further down the title tag. If you wanted to include Long Island, which is already there, stuff like that.
Cool. Right. Are we going to switch over? I can see lots of people have getting questions in. Keep going with the questions, even if it's something that's not direct. If it's like an audit question or something about tools and auditing or processes, then pop them in the chat so we can come to them later. But loads going on in the chat. Woohoo! Right, Colin, we're ready for you.
Okay. So moving on. So we covered a dentist. This is the next one up here. So this is All Valley Exterior Cleaning. They do like roof cleaning, side cleaning. So they're doing pressure washing. So anything that you can essentially clean on the exterior of your house to make it look nice, either to get it ready to sell or just general type of cleaning. That's what they do. And so their goal / challenge for this was they just said that they want to rank in the top 3, which is fine. That's a good goal. And sometimes I don't think you really need to get super specific about things, because by ranking in the top 3, it's going to produce all these wonderful outcomes. So we can work with ranking in the top 3 as a goal. That's fine. Okay, so where I started with this one is a little bit different than I did with the dentist. So when it comes to these service area businesses that offer multiple services, so HVAC would be a perfect example, right? They're doing heating certain times of the year, they're doing air conditioning. So a lot of them are also doing plumbing. And now all of a sudden there's like 10 different possible categories that they can use. So you kind of have to figure out the best way to get those set up. So with these guys, if you look at their services, they do quite a bit, and quite a bit of things that have categories available to them within the Google Business Profile. So they do, let's pull up their list here, roof cleaning, but they also do gutter cleaning, pressure washing, concrete sealing. They even do solar panel cleaning. Multiple categories are available to them here. So I thought that would be a good starting point, because we know categories are really impactful. And right off the bat, I can tell that Google is actually not very clear at best, or pretty confused at worst as to what categories to associate with some of the services they do. So roof cleaning company, I would assume this is probably one of their more important keywords, or or just roof cleaning near me, stuff like that. And you can see that Google in the 3-pack has a company with the primary category of a window cleaning service. There's another one that's got the gutter cleaning service category. There's another one that has the window cleaning service. And I actually saw a few others when I was kind of like rerunning these. So I know there's some focus that needs to happen as far as the categories go here. And as of right now, this business is only using the window cleaning service category. So there's a really big opportunity here. So what I do from here is I actually like to use the Plepper Chrome extension. So I'll go from the 3-pack here. I'm just going to click on the tab to jump over to Google Maps. And a little like side note here, if I was to jump over to here, like you probably saw, I clicked on the Maps link. If I clicked directly through the map from the 3-pack, or if I clicked on the See More Businesses thing at the bottom, it wouldn't show me this maps view here. It would show me like the local finder view, or there's even that new local services kind of view we've been seeing a lot, which won't often trigger some of these Chrome extensions. So keep that in mind. So just give me one sec. It's just hopefully thinking here. There we go. So this is, this is an important exercise for any business, even if there's only like 1 or 2 possible categories you can use. But for a situation like this, or HVAC, or something where you've got multiple categories, this is like one of the greatest tools. So roof cleaning company is telling me right off the bat that the majority of businesses that are ranking within this view are using the gutter cleaning service category, then pressure washing service, and then the third one, which is the one we're actually using, is window cleaning service. So there's like 2 things I'd be thinking about here. One is, what is actually the best primary category to use? Actually don't think it's window cleaning services. And then the second question is, what are all the other additional categories that we can add, because we can add up to 9 after the primary category, that are going to help us rank for all those different services that we're trying to rank for. So what I would probably do here is switch up primary to probably pressure washing. But again, you can test this. It's the beautiful thing about categories is you can test them. If you don't get the desired result, you can switch them up. And then I would add in, gutter cleaning, pressure washing, window cleaning, roofing contractor. There was, and they also do commercial cleaning. So I think commercial cleaning services is worthwhile. They also do concrete sealing, which is a little bit different. And if you do a search for concrete sealing company, we'll actually get the concrete contractor as like the main category that people are using. So I would say if you actually have a desire to show up in the 3-pack for your concrete sealing service, you're definitely going to have to associate that category with you, at least as an additional category. Any questions, Claire? Or is anything coming in that would be worth asking?
I think that I know that we are going to, people can watch this over and over and again, but there's a couple of people that are saying, when you said you changed from, you didn't go in via the local finder, you went in via a different way. Could you just remind them what you did? Because I think some people didn't catch that. And even though we'll watch it again, they want to understand it.
Yeah, maybe I'll kind of show here, because let's get back to the regular search results. So if I go from here, if I click on maps up here, it's going to redirect me to /maps, etc. And the Chrome extension will work fine. If I click directly on the map here, or if I click here where it says more businesses, it'll either keep me in /search, so essentially the local finder, or sometime recently I've been noticing that there's a third option you'll see up here, and it'll be /, I think it says local services. And that's sort of that new sort of local finder that we've been seeing, and there's like local service ads, like usually at the very top. And as you can see here, like my Plepper Chrome extension isn't triggering right off the bat. So you just want to be /maps.
Yeah. Brilliant. So don't click on the local finder, go and Did you open a new tab for maps, or did you, I can't remember what it said in the 3-pack to give you the option to go into maps with / maps.
It would be / search if you came in directly
There-
from the 3-pack. So that'd be essentially the local finder. Yeah.
Okay. Fabulous. Thank you. No, that all makes sense. I think a lot of people are having questions about categories, primary categories, secondary categories, which Jenny, we'll link to something about choosing categories and the importance of the primary category versus the secondary category. Something I noticed with the original SERP that you looked at was the businesses' services getting pulled in as a justification in the 3-pack, which I thought was quite interesting.
Yep.
I can't remember what that was for. It was
right here.
Oh, there we are. So even though All Valley, I didn't know what their website is actually. Did we look at it anyway? But yes, so they're obviously, even though they are window cleaning service as a primary category, they obviously know, or Google is clever enough, to know that roof cleaning is important, and they've scraped that. I wonder what do their services look like on a mobile, just out of interest. Am I going too off piece now?
As far as like which ones they have.
Oh no, you've got it there. Yeah, I was just wondering whether they'd filled out their services and made it look beautiful, or whether or not it was just Google doing a job of scraping.
Yep, we can take a look.
There we are. So they could really add, if you click on them, they haven't gone ahead and populated those in terms of filling in their own. Yeah, so that's something that they could do as well, isn't it, to sort of enrich that content.
Yeah, and that brings up another point is once they go in and start adding those additional categories, the services section here, it's actually broken up by category, right? So these are all the services related to their one category they have. Once they go in and add those additional 4 or 5 categories, it opens up 4 to 5 more buckets of actual services that they can specify to Google, and that's like this extra wonderful little little cherry on the top kind of thing.
And if they click there where it says add another business category, does that take them back to the category section? Yes.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. Anything else to run through on that one, on the services? Is there anything else that you'd be looking at?
Specifically in here?
Oh, anything to do with if you're auditing like a service area business, other bits and bobs to go and have a look at. What are the other key things?
So so what's interesting about them? So going over to the GeoGrid report. So I asked ahead of time if I could get the address that was used to verify the profile. So it's a service area business, so it's not visible, it's hidden, but we know that Google bases rankings on whatever address you use to actually verify the profile, even if that's not necessarily your actual service area.
Yeah.
And so like this area here, you can see the pin here. This is actually where the business is verified. But over here is kind of what I understand to be their market or their service area that they're trying to get business from. What's interesting is I was cycling through some of these keywords. I think maybe moss removal was one of them, maybe not. See if I can find it here. Oh, there we go. So interestingly, they've got this one anomaly that's actually over in Anacortes where they want to be getting business from. So one of two things is happening here. Either the address that was used to verify the business is actually over here somewhere and not the one that I understood it to be over here. Okay. Which actually is a good thing if this is your target market over there.
Yeah,
so I've run into this quite a bit lately with service area businesses not remembering what the actual address was that they used to verify the listing because it was residential or something like that. So knowing that and being able to figure that out is extremely important as far as like tracking your performance, tracking your rankings. But there is some signal, I would assume is address related, but could be something else that is saying like, hey, there's a reason why we're ranking number 4 here, but we're basically filtered out and not ranking anywhere else.
Is there any way for that business to like revisit if they can't remember what address was used originally to verify that listing? How What
There used
can
to
they
be.
do?
There used to be. So just make sure it's written down somewhere. That's like the best possible. It's like, like in the same way that you would track and store your CID number, like your match
Yeah,
CID. I would say
yeah,
there's a really good use case to do that exact
yeah.
same thing if you're a service area business.
Okay, I love it.
Uh,
Add that field to your customer onboarding if it's not already.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
if you're working with businesses, that should absolutely be a question on, like if you're doing an audit or if you're onboarding them as a client and they're a service area business, make sure they tell you exactly what address
Yeah.
they used to verify the profile. Because if you don't know that, or the address you think was used isn't the one that was used, you could waste dozens of hours trying to troubleshoot things that were really just about this one simple thing.
I think we've got All Valley actually in the chat saying the listing was verified in Anacortes.
Oh, okay. So that maybe just, yeah. Okay. So that would make sense.
Let's ignore that. It totally makes sense why it would be for there, because that's where, and well done, All Valley, for obviously you remember, and you have a record of it. So thumbs up.
Yeah. The other thing they would benefit from is definitely doing some spam fighting. So
yes.
For two reasons. They're a service area business, and pretty much every single service area business you're going to find spam. But also because they cover such a breadth of different categories, you're going to find spam that's unique to people searching for moss removal. And then there's going to be spam that's completely unique to people searching for pressure washing companies. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw that there was an exact match business name in there, which was Anacortes something cleaning. So that would be they really called that straight away.
Yeah. And here, like moss removal, another thing to point out here with moss removal is when you see something like this, where almost every single competitor that's ranking for moss removal has moss removal in the business name. It tells me two things. One is probably quite a few of these are, it could be redressal formed off to Google. This one here that's like just Seattle moss removal is probably a good candidate there.
Yeah.
No reviews. But it's also like a setting expectations thing again. It's actually probably going to be very challenging to rank or certainly dominate for that keyword without having moss removal as part of your name. It's just unfortunately part of what's happening here.
Yeah.
And then as far as like some things I would definitely just address on the website, I think more just opportunities here. So again, their homepage also happens to be their GBP landing page, so the page that they link to. So the title tag has some opportunity. Right now, it's just roof cleaning company in Anacortes. I would expand that to probably include some other keywords further down the title tag. And then one thing I really like about the homepage is it has these really nice, I would call them like content blocks about the various, or at least the most important services that they offer, which is wonderful and is something I would recommend doing. But the missed opportunity here is the anchor text that is going to those specific pages. So I would consider optimizing that better and kind of measuring the impact of that.
Yeah. Nice quick win.
Then go ahead, Claire.
Sorry, I was just, when you were talking about title tags, we're so used to Google rewriting our title tags, and we're so used to like the character count changing and everything looking totally different to how we planned it. And then one of the things that Joel Headley said, which was don't fear the ellipsis, which is you don't need to put every single keyword in the whole world, but don't be scared if your title tag is longer than the recommended length, basically. So just make sure that you're waiting, and it's a readable tag that makes sense, but don't be scared about putting in an additional service if it's a primary thing. But you do need to be careful about cannibalization of your services pages if you're just sticking everything in the homepage title tag.
Yep, 100%, and definitely one of the greatest. I think as part of a presentation he did, one of the greatest recommendations, and one of the most useful ones for us, certainly in Sterling Sky, like wrapping the head around the fact that you really do not need to pay attention to title tag length. if you're concerned about how the title tag is showing up in the SERP, which is sort of separate from the SEO value, because if Google rewrites the title tag, you still get the SEO value from what's actually in the title tag, even if it's not showing up.
Yeah.
So you can still have an SEO title tag that's getting pulled into the SERP the way you want, but also has keywords in it.
Yeah. And it's meaningful. It describes what it is and what you do, and then you back that up with also having those words on the page.
Yes.
Which seems like an obvious thing, but sometimes we do forget the obvious things.
Yes. And speaking of obvious, I would say, but so impactful, get to minimum 10 reviews from the ranking boost impact, right? So we know for sure around 10 reviews, there is a boost that happens. And then the boost has sort of a diminishing effect thing as you get to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, but something happens around that 10 mark. So I'd focus on 10, but then as like a longer term focus, again, going back to the Plepper tool, what's really cool about this is you can look and see, okay, for roof cleaning company, for that search in my market, what is the average number of reviews that a business has? It's 102. I would set that as sort of like a benchmark, or at least a first benchmark, if is hitting the average of the businesses, my competitors in my market, in my industry. Yeah.
I am going to stop you there because I think we need to leave some time for the Q&A. But the number of people are just saying, I'm going to have to rewatch that 2 or 3 times. And that's how I'm feeling at the moment, is like, I'll rewatch that, write some more notes, because there was gold there. Thank you very, very much. It was nice to get an insight into, a little bit of your processes and the types of things that you can do to quickly take a look at a business potential client sometimes, isn't it? It's all sorts of things.
Yep.
So I believe, what do I need to say? Oh, we've got some questions. Jenny's pulling them in. So we've got Tammy, with the recent API changes from Google Business Profile, what are the top metrics that you like to focus on when reporting progress and impact from GBP in lovely question, Tammy.
Yeah, for reporting, GBP specifically is typically, like, as far as the number metric goes, it's calls. That would be probably the only one we're focused on as far as reporting to clients would be calls. The other metrics are extremely valuable for sure for understanding trends, making business decisions, but also like what's inside the insights section that's valuable, which is the actual queries insights. So that is something I would report to clients, because what's really neat about that is you can filter your queries by a particular month. And maybe 6 months ago, we were only getting X number of eyeballs, and our top keyword we were showing up for was something we're like, oh, well, it's a brand name or something like that. Fast forward 6 months, isolate that month, look at your top 5 or 10 GBP queries. And if you're seeing an improvement there, to me, that's something that's worth reporting for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know if you ever can use that for sort of insight into hyperlocal seasonality, not just progress for yourself, but to understand whether seasonality, things that factor into that.
Yep.
That is lovely. Thank you very much. Let's see if we've got another question. Nathan Montgomery, is there a correct format to use for a real estate agent's business name? Should it only be first and last name, or can you just use something like Nathan Montgomery, Realtor for Keller Williams, even though they don't have an actual business name set up?
Yeah, so according to Google's rules, you would just use your name if it's like a multi-realtor type operation. But there's definitely some benefit to including the brand name for sure, especially if it's a well-known brand. But I would say you only want to do that if you've set it up at a home address that is not at the same location where the other 50 realtors are. If you do that, I would definitely include the brand name, because it's not going to conflict with the actual practice that's at their actual agency location.
And does that fit in with regard to like Google guidelines for naming conventions?
Well, according to the guidelines, they'd say for if you're a solo practitioner, then you can list your name and the business name or agency name or whatever it is in the name. But if it's a multi-practitioner situation, then you should just use your name. So that's one of those situations where it's best to just observe and
Yes.
see how Google
Yeah.
behaves with these types
Yeah.
of things, what works
Yeah.
best.
Yeah.
But that's what the guidelines
Yeah.
state, which
And familiarize yourself with the guidelines and go in like once a month and have a look, because things do change there, don't they? So it's one thing to say, I'm just going to copy my competitors, which is fine until you get a soft suspension. So it's best to play by the rules, and anyone that isn't, try and get them knocked out if you can. Okay, another question. Rob, should I use a category that's considered spammy as a third or fourth category on my GBP if in fact we provide those services like locksmith, or should I just leave it off?
I would use it. I wouldn't not use a category that could benefit your business because you're worried that it's considered spammy by Google. Absolutely not. Unless there was other things that were wrong with the profile that you don't want Google to be aware of or something like that. But if it's a totally legit business, I'm definitely of the mindset that use all the things and take advantage of everything you possibly can, for sure. Yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. And Caitlin, what's your keyword tracking strategy for local rank tracking in the geo grid? Is it one keyword, many keywords? How do you advise clients to choose?
Yeah, so well, start at the top. So because some tools, they vary in pricing, and with GeoGrids, because you're pinging so many different things and there's a lot of data happening, it can get expensive pretty quickly. So I would say, generally speaking, we're going to track maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4, maybe 5 core keywords for a business, but also the variation. Meaning, if I'm tracking dentist, I'm also going to track dentist Franklin Square. Because we know, since the vicinity update, especially, there's massive differences in rankings for explicit and implicit queries. And you might want to track the near me version of the query as well. And then as far as choosing keywords, I would say one of the benefits at Sterling Sky is we've definitely really focused on certain industries as far as like new businesses that we'll take on and work with. And one of the benefits of doing that is you become really, really familiar with certain industries. So like, you just know what keywords are the ones you want to be tracking. But if it's a new business and we're auditing it, and maybe it's not a specific industry we've audited before, we would start by asking the business to provide us with a keyword list. And then you kind of work from there, and just use your keyword research tools and just come up with that 5 or 6 keyword list for the GeoGrid report. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Alex, what are the best practices to you adding 2 different businesses in the same address? So if you're adding 2 different businesses to the same address, what should you do?
Well, I mean, well, I would say the better way to answer this question is, what should you not do if you're setting up 2 businesses? And it's really just about conflicting features. So you would never want to set up 2 businesses that were the same category, that had the same name, or even a very similar name. Hopefully they're using a unique website, or at the very least pointing to different pages on the website. And you obviously just want to make sure that they're actual, like, legally licensed separate businesses, because if you ever run into a situation with Google support and you have to prove that, you're not going to have those listings for long if it's really just a situation where it's one business with two distinct services.
And is there anything about like separate entrances, separate signage? What are the best things that you can? How does Google see, if people have to come in separate doors? Is that a thing? I can remember that being somewhere in the guidelines.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. So not having the information conflict, that would be the important consideration for the algorithms, let's say. So the real world best practices would be exactly the things that you just mentioned there, Claire, is showing Google physically in the real world that these are actually 2 separate businesses. And in Google's mind, that means separate signage, preferably separate entrance.
Yeah, and make sure the map pin is exactly in the right place where the door is. You know, that's another thing, is people sort of like map pins in the middle of the building, but that's not where you go into the building. That's another thing sometimes. Yeah, so that's useful. Okay, let's see. What have we got? 5 more minutes. Is it true that service area businesses don't rank as well as businesses that show their address and have a visible map pin?
So this is an interesting topic, especially as of late. And I think we can still say with confidence, like as of today, there's no in-depth research pointing to that being true. Certainly in our experience, there has been one time, and this is going back probably 8 or 9 years, where we saw like a direct impact immediately after adding an address back to a listing that had it hidden. It went from not ranking to ranking really well. But we haven't really seen that happen, at least that directly and impactfully as that one time. So yeah, I would say it's probably not true. But I think this is something that's evolving with Google's algorithms over time. And I think whether or not it is true will be dependent on like other factors. I don't think it'll just be like we flip the address back on and all of a sudden we rank. It'll be we flip the address back on, and because these other things are also happening, it causes some kind of impact.
Yeah, and Google might change how they treat service area businesses. Maybe sometime areas served might start to impact rather than the, you know, who knows where it's going. It's always interesting to have a think about how they might change the algorithm instead of just where the business was registered initially. But there we are. Another question. Caitlin, could you use dentist as the primary category of the locations listing and also use dentist as an additional category on practitioner listings?
You can. I typically don't as a best practice. I think it is best to just have your main listing as separated as much as possible from your practitioner listings. You know, a situation where I wouldn't change anything is if like you did an audit and the current lay of the land is they have their main practice ranking for dentist and a practitioner listing also ranking well for dentist, and they have dentist as the secondary. I'd probably leave it alone. But if I'm troubleshooting why the main practice listing isn't ranking for dentist and they have practitioner listings with dentist either as the primary or the secondary category, I definitely want to remove it because I'd suspect that it's causing some sort of confusion.
Yes. Yeah, good one. Richard, we have a physical location, but competitors using service area with no address seem to be doing better than us. Do you recommend doing a hybrid service area business?
I mean, only if you actually do see people at the address. I would very rarely recommend setting up your service area business in a way that isn't how it should be set up, mainly for the reason that you just will run into issues at some point, whether it's with Google support. You know, you're trying to get help with an issue and they say, well, we'll help you, but you need to fix X, Y, Z. But
so hey, it's unlikely that that's the factor that is making them outrank you, Richard, I would say, rather than
and this one's like the flip side too, right? So this is, we have a physical location, but competitors using service area.
So you should be potentially in a better position than them. So I think I'd start looking at all the other factors, you know, including, you know, proximity, you know, it depends where they register the business, you know, their reviews, other things. So I'd look at those other things and making changes to other things before I thought about, you know, adding service areas to your business, because it's likely to be, likely to be the other factors.
It would be a fun test. And I just remembered the stuff that Darren Shaw was sharing recently, where he had thought that he kind of discovered that it was actually impacting ranking, but then multiple people were kind of troubleshooting it. It was really kind of cool to see all these people looking at this, and it sort of looked like maybe it was less about the service areas and more about the unhiding or the hiding of the address, which then sort of promoted the relevance of the service areas. So I would say, Richard, Test it. Definitely test it.
Yeah. See what happens. I think we've got have we got time for one more? No, I don't believe we have. Okay. Thank you very, very, very much for your questions, everyone. And all of the stuff that was going on in the chat. I will definitely be watching this. And also, obviously, a massive thank you to you, Colin, for your time and your insight. Should we do another one?
Of course. This is really fun.
In the chat, then make sure if you want another audit, jot it down so we can see your feedback. That was brilliant. It was lovely insight into so many tips and tricks. So what do I need to say? Where obviously everybody wants to know more about you and be able to follow you and all of those things. So where's the best place for people to connect with you and see local SEO stuff?
Yeah, Twitter is pretty much Twitter and LinkedIn is the only place, socially speaking, that I'm active. So just Colan Nielsen on Twitter. Just doing a Google search for myself. If you want to find any of my other profiles, I think my parents had SEO in mind back in 1982 because it takes about 6 pages to find another Colan Nielsen. So there's all good stuff there. Of course, yeah.
Sorry, I was saying I need to go. I did a lot of etymology of your name earlier. So it's nice that you're very unique. That is always a good thing. So we can follow you on Twitter, and I need to remind everybody to go along. I think we've got, where's the sign up? Yeah, go along and sign up to the newsletter. So it's a weekly digest email with news and resources, but also reminders about all of the webinars, because we have got a cracking lineup of webinars for this year. So I think I'm going to say thank you again. And it was really, really nice to hang out with you this evening or today or whatever time it is where you are.
Yes, this is fun. Thank you for having me. All right. Bye, everybody.